This House is now in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Friday, 30th of August, 2019 to be confirmed.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that those minutes be taken as read.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are so confirmed.
Announcements by Your Honour the Speaker.
Message from...
Messages from Her Excellency the Governor General.
Message from the Honourable, the Senate, to the Honourable... Yeah.
You're not on an announcement.
Yeah, we do things. You can see that? Can you see that?
No, that's when the cap set, right?
Yeah,
and the Governor General is going to be so they were supposed to have a message like that.
You see. Message from the Honourable the Senate to the Honourable the House of Assembly. The Honourable the Senate has the honour to extend its compliments to the Honourable the House of Assembly and to reply to the message from the House inviting the Senate to appoint 4 senators to a joint select committee on the Medicinal Cannabis Industry Bill 2019. The Senate is pleased to appoint His Honour Senator Rudolph N. Greenwich, LLB, Senator Dr. Crystal K.M. Haynes, MBBS, Senator Mr. Christopher A. Maynard, MBBS, FCRS, Inc., Senator Casual A. Franklin, JP, to constitute the joint committee with members of the House of Assembly and to offer every good wish for the deliberations of the committee. Dated the 4th day of September 2019, signed the President.
You could just indicate that obviously that was the House had already gone on recess. Yeah. And since then the committee is actually
For purposes of clarification relative to the announcement just read, when this matter came to the House was in recess. Subsequently, the committee has met and deliberations are almost completed such that it is anticipated that it shall be completed by this week or next week, and the full bill will then be further debated in this Honourable House of Assembly.
petitions, papers.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the recommendation on national floors of social protection.
Government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees. First readings of bills.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the first reading of the Offences Against the Person Amendment Bill, the Debt Holder Approval of Debt Restructuring Validation Bill, and the Award of Pride of Barbados Bill.
Second, please.
The question is that the aforementioned bills be read the first time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42 subsection 5, 43 and 44 be suspended for the remainder of today's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be so suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are so suspended.
So you had a second, I think? Yeah. Had a second. Government business, sir.
Government business is now the order of the day.
Order number 3, in the name of the Honourable Minister of Maritime Affairs and Economy, to move the second reading of the Shipping Incentives Amendment Bill 2019.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is good and a privilege for us all to be back in this honorable place, sir. As the first speaker on our side, let me just say it is good to see you again. It's always good to see you. It's always good to see you in here, sir. This morning I have the privilege of bringing to this honorable house a bill that would amend the Shipping Incentives Act, sir, to reduce the number of years for carrying forward losses for the purpose of the assessment of income tax from 9 years to 7 years, and for reducing the rate applicable to the deductions that can be claimed in respect of the income tax from 150% to 100%. And, sir, I think it is important for us to just understand a bit about this Shipping Incentives Act, sir, in the first place, so that we could have a better understanding as to its importance in Barbadian society, and it's important for us as a government, sir, dating back to as far as 1982. And sir, it is fitting and indeed, I think, a most engaging exercise for us now, sir, because there are so many opportunities for us in shipping. And I will speak to some of these during the course of my brief contribution, sir, on this amendment. Before I do that, sir, what exactly does this legislation say? What exactly does it say, sir, in relation to the Act and what we are seeking to amend? Section 5 of the Shipping Incentives Act, sir, is amended by deleting subsection 3 and substituting the following. I'll read it, sir. An approved shipping company that is granted income tax concessions under this Act may, for the purpose of the assessment of income tax, carry forward in respect of the first 7 years of assessment after the expiration of the concession period losses that were incurred during the concession period and were not written off, sir. So that period has been reduced from 9 years to 7 years. In the second amendment, sir, it is noted that where an approved shipping company has, in an income year, incurred expenditure for any of the purposes specified in the first schedule, and I will talk to you, sir, about what's in the first schedule. Specified in the first schedule, then in calculating the assessable income of the approved shipping company for that income year, there shall be deducted an amount equal to 100% of the expenditure incurred. So we are moving that reduction, we are reducing that, sir, from 150% to 100% of the expenditure incurred. Sir, it's also important for us to note that these amendments, though we are the ones following through on them, sir, were started in 2015 under the other administration, sir. But we bring to this conversation, sir, a whole suite of other legislation, sir, that will make the tourism industry happy and would make Barbados a very, for them, sir, a lucrative market, but also a place where people would want to come. And it's important for us to note that, sir, because while we are moving from 9 to 7 years and 150 to 100%, we are going from more than fair to very fair. And it is also important to note, sir, that we will not be affecting any of the already existing things that are listed in the first schedule or the second schedule, sir. But what's in the first schedule? The first schedule, sir, to this Shipping Incentives Act, and I'll only read a few, but all of these, it is important to note, sir, that all of these stay. The bill does not affect the various categories for which they could receive some concessions, sir. All of these stay. So the first is that for fares, accommodation, and subsistence of the taxpayer or his employees traveling from Barbados in the promotion of yachting or boating tourism, thank you, or training in agreed marine skills exclusive of the cost of a holiday trip. Salaries and wages, payments to agents, cost of advertising, cost of supplying pamphlets, brochures, and so on. Expenditure incurred at yachting or boating shows. Expenditure incurred on overseas market research or the obtaining of overseas marketing information. Contributions to joint tourism promotion arrangements carried out abroad. Cost incurred in bringing in Barbados journalists and persons involved with international guides and documents where the promotion of yachting or boating tourism in Barbados is the sole objective. Cost of promoting and providing services for international events bringing yachts and boats to Barbados. Cost of electronic marketing. Cost of hiring short-term marketing and technical consultancy services, sir. So the legislation does not change that which they have access to. The legislation basically, sir, just has two very small amendments, reducing the time from 9 to 7 and 150 to 100%. So I'm saying that to say, sir, to suggest to this Honourable House that consider that this amendment, this bill first came in 1982 under a Labour Party government. We are still keeping faith with that which the Labour Party had always intended, sir, which is to allow us to open up our tourism sector, to invite a diversified tourism product, sir, and to be offering cutting-edge services in the tourism sphere. And it is important for us to recognize, sir, that in the context of a conversation on tourism, or in the context of a conversation on shipping, sir, we now have to get Barbados to the point where the products that we offer to people who would wish to do business in Barbados are beyond a mere attraction because we are offering tremendous incentives. Yes, we have to offer incentives, But I believe that if we have a product, sir, that is strong enough, significant enough, exciting enough, and relevant enough, that we will continue to attract first-class tourism base, sir, that would allow us to continue to propel this economy. And I believe, sir, that we are doing so. And I say so cognizant of the fact, sir, that the Minister of Tourism, the Honourable Member for St. James Central, has, in the time that he has been Minister, sir, reached out to so many new markets and has been successful in bringing new business to this country, sir. We've seen new airlines come into the country. We've seen airlines that were already coming, doubling down on the amount of trips that they're making to Barbados. In fact, over the last few weeks, sir, the Minister was in Ireland and Scotland, opening new avenues, sir, in non-traditional markets to be able to bring new business to Barbados. And that is going to be important, sir, as we build out both our tourism sector and as we build out our shipping sector during the course of the next few years, sir. And I will speak to a few of the things that we're doing in shipping. But I believe, sir, that there are simple things that I've also seen us done in tourism. You would be aware, sir, of the festive Fridays that are being done on Fridays in Pelican Village. And that everybody who attends those festive Fridays would suggest to you, would say to you, sir, both tourists and locals alike, would tell you that that is a very exciting, engaging, it's in many ways, sir, is reflective of traditional Barbados, where they get to engage with traditional Barbadian food, Barbadian clothing, Barbadian art, sir, in an environment, sir, that is fun, in an environment, sir, that is healthy, and one that would encourage tourists to come back. At the end of the day, sir, at the end of the day, in all that we do as a tourism destination, whenever we get somebody to Barbados, it has to be our sole intention to give them such a wonderful experience that it is their sole intention to come back. And that contribution, sir, through Festive Friday, sir, would guarantee that they come back. We also have to ease the business in the port, and we'll talk about that, sir. But Barbados has to offer new marquee tourism products, sir, that would make people wish to come to this country. And that in all that we do, all that we offer to the public, sir, all that we offer to the tourism sector, every time we engage, sir, we have to be the most hospitable people. Barbados has to be known, sir, for its hospitality. And I always say as a boy, the slogan that I remember most, and most of us do, is that tourism is our business. Let's play our part. I mean, we all know it. Sir, this year, the last few weeks, September 26th was tourism, September 26th or 27th was Tourism Day, sir, and the theme, as it spoke to tourists, sir, and for Barbados, sir, it almost reminded me of the Labour Party theme, you know, which is a better life for all people. But it said, sir, it spoke to tourism and jobs, a better future for all. Tourism and jobs, a better future for all, because there are now so many possibilities in this sector, sir. And in the maritime sphere, sir, we were focusing on gender and empowering women who are in the maritime space, sir. And that those are the things that we now have to focus on to be able to bring the best product to the market, to offer it to persons, sir. And I believe very strongly that this Labour Party government is on the course for doing so. And I'm very proud, sir, with all that we have done so far in the short term. But, sir, there are a lot of benefits in this act. And as you know, sir, acts are amended from time to time. This one was passed in 82, amended in 84, amended in 85, 2005, 2009, sir. Acts are amended from time to time. And I would like to just very briefly, sir, give a background to this Shipping Incentives Act, sir. and to some of the amendments before I speak specifically to what I feel we need to do in the shipping sector. So the Shipping Incentives Act 1982 was done in an effort to further develop ways of diversifying Barbados' tourism industry. And it was proposed that concessions be granted to approved shipping corporations in that industry. In addition to the concept of diversification, sir, it was felt that to do so would allow us to enable Barbadians to get jobs in the sector. So it was a forward-thinking piece of legislation, sir, that sought to give concessions, sir, to build out our tourism product. And as I said before, I would like to think that eventually we're going to get to a point where our product is so strong, where the attraction to Barbados is so potent and so powerful that people would choose to come even if we are in a position, sir, or if we determine as a government and as a country to reduce some of these concessions. So that indeed when people interact with Barbados, sir, we get the benefit of them being here in a much grander scale. But in 1982, sir, when this was introduced, sir, it was meant as a concept, sir, to help us diversify and to improve our employment figures. But, sir, this act was amended in 1984. And that was to amend the act as it related, sir, to transfers and shareholding, sir. It was amended in 85 to just technical words, sir. It was also amended in 2005 for a wider, and this is very important, sir. During the throne speech in 2002, it was proposed that the Shipping Incentives Act, Cap 90A, be amended to allow for a wider application of the incentives to all boats. In addition, the revision would also introduce a refurbishment program to facilitate the alteration, equipping, maintenance, or repairs of existing boats. So we expanded it, sir, so that you therefore now had a wider range of areas within which you could apply for this shipping incentive, sir. Again, this was done in between 2002 and 2006, sir. I need not tell you what government was in place during that period. But the point is, sir, that we were constantly making it easy for people to do business in Barbados, sir, to attract the kind of business that we need, sir, to be able to flesh out a larger tourism product. And you know, there's recent conversation around concessions and how much concessions people want and how much they should receive, and you know, I understand the need to have concessions, but we have to be careful, sir. You can't give away everything. My mother used to tell me, if you give away all you got to buy all that you want. And we know that we can't give away all that we have. But we offer, sir, a balance in terms of the concessions that we offer, sir, to invite people to do business, but not in a way, sir, that will hurt this country. And that is why I'm very proud, sir, for the stance that the government has taken, the one that the Honourable Minister of Tourism has also taken in relation to how we engage. Yes, we want your business, but at the same time, it cannot be at the cost of ordinary Barbadians. And I'm very proud of the stance that we've taken, sir, in relation to that other matter. Sir, in 2009, the Shipping Incentives Act was also amended, sir, to include game boat fishing, sir. Again, it was also expanded. So that every time we've amended, sir, it was to include other people, to bring other people into the sphere, sir. And as I said in the beginning, sir, we have not, in this amendment, changed any of that. So that the persons who were entitled are still entitled. The things to which they were entitled, they are still entitled. It is only an amendment, sir, over the amount of time that they can claim, and the percentage, sir, from 150 to 100%. And, sir, in that expansion of the definition of shipping activities, sir, it then engaged almost all shipping activities. Sir, so in this space, persons who are involved in this space, sir, have a suite, as the word that I was exposed to, a whole range of things for which they get concessions. And that, sir, during the course of our amendment, sir, will not change. It remains absolutely the same. And so, Mr. Speaker, sir, what does this have to do with the Ministry of Maritime Affairs? The Shipping Incentives Order the duty-free concessions that are sought by these various companies, both new and existing, sir. At the end of the day, sir, the minister responsible for shipping signs those. So that when somebody makes the application to get these things, it is now considered that the Prime Minister has asked me to leave shipping, sir. It is now my signature, as it would be whoever takes up this responsibility or whoever had the responsibility before me, to make sure, sir, that these things are done and that we sign off to give them the access, sir. And that is how it relates to the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, sir. And since these amendments, sir, there have been a number of companies that have made use of them. So that from time to time, my colleagues would be aware that I bring to Cabinet, sir, sorry. I bring to Cabinet a number of papers asking for so-and-so or such and such company, sir, to be a beneficiary of the concessions to which the government, traditional governments, various governments over time, sir, have allowed them to reap the benefit. But, sir, there are much larger issues in shipping that we have to have a conversation on. The larger issues in tourism, sir, that we have to have a conversation on. Because some may say that in making these adjustments, sir, we run the risk. Some may say that we run the risk, sir, of hurting our tourism product, our shipping product. But if you look at it, sir, within the context of all that the government has done, sir, to make it easier to do business, I would have to disagree. And when you look at it, sir, in the context of what we are doing now in shipping, I absolutely have to disagree. There has been, sir, there has been few areas in Barbados, sir, and all of them have been disregarded, and all of them have been treated badly. But there have been few areas, in my opinion, sir, that were as neglected by the government in the last 10 years, the former government, as it was, sir, in shipping, and as it was, sir, in fisheries. There are few. And of course, sir, every minister in here, every member of parliament in here, including yourself, sir, will speak to the neglect at a constituency level. They will speak to the neglect across the various ministries, sir. Rightfully so, because they were all neglected under the former government. But very few as neglected as shipping, in my opinion, and as fisheries. And I will tell you why. If we consider, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when we came into office in May 2018, when we won the government, we were being audited, sir, by the International Maritime Organization, sir, and the IMO, International Maritime Organization, is the global maritime industry regulatory body tasked with ensuring safe, secure, and efficient shipping and clean oceans. They were auditing us because members who sign on to IMO, sir, have to be audited from time to time. It's part of the new way of the IMO. During the course of that audit, sir, and I said this audit was done in June and July 2018. We came in May. So if you audited me in June, you know you're not auditing what I've done. You're auditing what was done before we came in. And during the course of that audit, sir, the revelations were startling. The IMO found there were over 20 areas in which Barbados fell short. Sir, over 20 areas. A lot of it in relation to the legislation, sir. Us not taking the legislation seriously enough to at least try to have some of these things brought into law. They looked at our ship registry, sir, and I will speak to that again in a little bit more detail later on. But a number of areas, sir, across which, sir, they felt that we were not doing enough. And we made a commitment, sir, in the last few months, sir, from the time we won, really, that if Barbados is to be audited again by the IMO, that while we remain the government of this country, sir, we will not be failing any IMO audit ever again, not under this Barbados Labour Party administration, sir. But what they found, sir, at the time, was that we hadn't treated with any seriousness, sir, to a number of issues that they had previously raised. I am pleased to say that the team in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs are now working steadfastly, sir, to ensure that we are in a position, sir, to meet the international obligations, sir. And I've never want to feel like when a man tell me he's going to blacklist me, or if I do a little better, he's going to whitelist me. Them things don't make me feel good. I don't feel like I should subject myself to a man determining that he's going to blacklist me. But despite the fact, sir, that I could put the word in one side, when you look at the substance of the, I could only call it the accusation, so when you look at the substance of the judgment, some of the points, sir, most of them, sir, made sense. And there were things that we now have to do, sir, to put ourselves in order so that for our own sake, for our own dignity as a region, we have done that which we are supposed to do, to say that we are offering ourselves to the world as a destination, sir, where you would want to come and do business for shipping and for other purposes, sir, and that we have done all that we are supposed to do to be outstanding, to recognize the law, international and our own, sir, and to respect the laws of the sea. And that is why I feel it's important for us to do so. We became a member of the IMO in 1970, sir. And the IMO relies on member states like Barbados to realize this slogan about safe, secure, efficient shipping on clean oceans. Sir, that is why, we're not governing in silos. When we brought legislation here previously, sir, to look at plastics, is because we've already signed on to these international agreements too. When we say that we want to be participating in clean oceans, sir, it means that we recognize that if you're going to come to do business in Barbados, we want to inspect your ship. We want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Sir, as a side note, recently in Belize, we signed a fishing agreement, sir, in the Caribbean that would help us deal with illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, because the same thing happens there. We have these international obligations, sir. We sign on to these international commitments, and a lot of these small island developing states like Barbados do not have the wherewithal to properly monitor that open space. And the question is, how do we then monitor that open space, sir? And we, in the Caribbean region, sir, we got together and we signed with Latin American fisheries, sir, to be able to properly monitor that space. Because we have to treat seriously to all that we are doing in the international, in our domestic waters, sir, but also in the boundaries just beyond our national jurisdiction. And the reality is, sir, that unless you know what people are doing on the open water, when they fly under your flag, when they fly your flag on their ship when they're sailing, or, sir, if you know what they're doing when you allow them to come into your own EEZ, sir, you run the risk of imposing on yourself all kinds of fines and penalties because you're saying that you declare that this person is safe. Therefore, sir, we have to be very careful about what it is that we allow to come in to our waters, sir. And so why do I think all of this is important? Why do I think it's important for us to abide by the IMO, the CMI? Why do I think all this is important, sir? Shipping. Huh? I can't hear what you're saying. But the point is, sir, why is all of this important? Sir, there are opportunities for us in shipping, sir, that we have let go astray. There are some, sir, that we should be capitalizing on, sir, that we have not yet capitalized upon. Shipping is $1 trillion industry. $1 trillion industry. I mean, most of the things that we eat come to us in this country and other countries because of shipping. It is $1 trillion industry, sir. Most of the cargo that comes into this country doesn't come by plane, and as much as we've developed our capacity to fly from one place to the other, sir, none is as old as our capacity to sail from one country to the other. That is as old almost as time itself. And therefore, sir, there is a history. Caribbean people have a relationship with the sea. It's almost paradoxical. Many of us, sir, grew up with the water a stone's throw away from our houses. Many of us being told, do not venture down to the sea because the sea don't have no back door. Many of us then, our parents petrified to let us go, so you have a number of Barbadians who are unable to swim, even though the sea is next door, because their mother, repeating what their mother told them, or their father, all the way back, sir, to the times of our unfortunate slave past, when people didn't want us to have a relationship with the sea. All the way back. So now we're carrying forward things that we need to put down. There are some things that were given to us by our ancestors, sir, that we should carry forward. But there's some things that we now need to put down. And Barbadians need to develop a relationship with the sea. And that is why when we say we're going to make sure all Barbadian students learn to swim, that is as transformational a piece of policy, sir, that we will bring to this Parliament, sir, as any other policy, sir. So that we, in so doing, sir, we not only teach people skills, sir, but we are reorienting a mindset, sir, that was given to us to limit our relationship with the sea. And it is important for us, sir, to redevelop it. You know, when I was a student, sir, in history, my history teacher told me if you look on the coastline, all the houses, the chattel houses are built with their galleries facing the road. They don't even build with their galleries facing the ocean. Because that was the relationship that we then had as persons with the ocean. The valuable land was felt to be the land on the plantation at the time. You know, but now people realize the valuable land. Now, people who used to live along the coast, sir, can't get access to the land, sir, because now it is so valuable. We have to maintain, sir, in this country, sir, whenever we do something, sir, it has to be for all Barbadians. Again, sir, people may think and may let it pass. But in the policies that we bring to this Parliament, you would realize, sir, when we're talking about development of that same space, that we are always saying, but it has to be for all Barbadians. Ordinary Barbadians must be invited and allowed to participate in the development process in Barbados, sir. Again, we are reorienting the traditional mindset, reframing the institution, sir, making it easy for the average Barbadian to have a stake in this country, sir. And all of this, sir, is important because we do not govern in silos. And all that we are doing, piece by piece, bit by bit, has a relationship one to the other, sir. But why are we doing this, sir? Why is it important, sir? We have now in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, sir, to bring a whole set of legislation to this Parliament, to bring us into the 21st century, so to speak, to modernize shipping in the region, and specifically, sir, in Barbados. We have to strengthen the legal and regulatory framework to protect national interests in relation to marine, environmental, marine safety, maritime safety and security, effective implementation of IMO conventions, sir. A number of things that we have to do, sir, and that's why we're spending our time now doing a comprehensive review of the current legislation. A comprehensive review of the legislation. And when we have done that, sir, then we are going to bring a number of pieces here. We are already working on the file, the facilitation convention, sir. And this would allow us to have much greater ease of doing business in our ports. And why would we want to have ease of doing business in the port? For obvious reasons, sir. Barbados is now ranked on the ease of doing business index at 129 out of 190 countries. In terms of the ease of doing business as it relates to trade beyond borders, which is our port really, Barbados is 132. So we're worse off in terms of our trade because of how we facilitate business in the port primarily than we are overall, and we are not good overall. So we have to do it, sir, to improve our standing on the ease of doing business index, but not solely for that, because that is only a ranking. But if we do it, sir, we are able to invite much more business to this country. And Barbados, as you know, sir, we have to be in the port and in customs, we have to be revenue generating. We know that, and you get to do that, sir, by being able to facilitate business. We have to be competitive, so that we should be able to say it takes in Barbados an hour to do so and so, or to do this, and that in another country it takes them 2 hours. Come and do it here. Come and do it in Barbados. That is why we have to do it. And sir, in the port we have to offer security, and in customs. So you want to be more competitive, you want to be revenue generating, and you want to be secure. And that is what we're seeking to do, sir, in trying to change up all of these pieces of legislation, sir, that we are bringing. Sir, there is For us in maritime, sir, in my opinion, there is the potential for us to do above and beyond, sir, in terms of our ship registry. The ship registry doesn't get a lot of conversation, sir, but for me, it is a potential source of revenue. I almost said cash cow, but it is a potential source of revenue, sir, that we are not exploring. And what do I mean by the ship registry, sir? Sir, there are a number of foreign-owned vessels across the world, sir, that fly or sail, but they fly your flag, sir, when they sail. Our ship registry in Barbados now has the potential to have a significantly greater amount of ships and tonnage. When we compare ourselves to the Bahamas, for example, they have, 1,600 and something. We have 170 or so. We are not even in the conversation. There are countries, sir, that are generating significant revenue from their ship registry, sir. Barbados is hardly in the conversation. Hardly. I made a commitment, sir. The ministry made a commitment, sir. And the Prime Minister is insisting, sir, that our ship registry must now become the leading ship registry in the region. Both, sir, in terms of the tonnage and the amount of ships that we have, sir, but also, sir, in relation to the IMO conventions within which we have satisfied, sir. So we want to do both, because the numbers may be slightly misleading. Some people go to other territories and send up their ships there because they feel they could get away with murder. So don't just see the numbers. You might go and sign up to go and fly your ship in some unknown country, because in that country they're never going to monitor you, they're never going to check to see if you're polluting, they ain't going to check your diesel. But Barbados is never going to be that country, sir. But we can do better in terms of who we attract, and we must do better in terms of how we satisfy our IMO obligations, so that we do both at the same time. But I believe, sir, that there is the opportunity for us to make a significantly greater amount of revenue than we are currently making. So, sir, we also have in shipping to develop our human resources. And for us, as a government, you would be aware, sir, that training is a big deal. Training is a big deal. I've made it a big deal in the ministry. They would tell you that I talk about it all the time. We have to train up people. Because, sir, I have in my constituency, I'm sure you have in your constituency, young men who are looking, I'm sure you do too in the Honourable member for St. Michael West, young men who are looking for opportunities. In St. Michael South, for example, the Bayville, Bayland, those early Britain Hills, sir, those are areas known for seamen, for people who have seafarers, people who have a relationship with the sea. And it is important for us, sir, I've said earlier that there's some things that we have to put down, but there's still some things that we have to hold on to. The art of being a smart government, sir, and a smart people is to use your own common sense to determine that which we now have to put down and those things in our DNA that we have to carry forward. The art, sir, is for us to recognize that not all things we held sacred should be sacred, and that not all things that we consider once sacrilege should be sacrilege. That is where we have, sir, to fine-tune our intervention, sir, as a government. And when we hit that note, sir, when that melody becomes the melody of the government, then we will know we're getting all things right, sir. Because there are going to be people who will always say to us, but you shouldn't do so and so. And the reason why they're saying you shouldn't do so and so is because traditionally we haven't done so. And there are some who are going to say, man, you need to do this, and you need to, because people have always done it so. You must have heard those conversations. You were working in social care. You were manager, sir, of child care board. You must have heard conversations where you say, man, you need to do this, but we've never done it like that. And the only argument being presented to you is that we've never done it like that. All of us know who are members here. And sir, it's a conversation too that we have to have with our civil service, so that we are saying we want to do things differently. and that we cannot have this sole loyalty to the way things were once done. If you do what you always did, you will get what you always got. This is a time for change. And as I said, sir, we will not put down everything, sir, but there's some things, sir, that we have to put down. And there's some things, sir, now that we have to pick up new things, new skills. There are areas in maritime, sir, that people are now discussing, sir, that Barbadians haven't even begun yet to think about. Areas in all things. So people are, I had the privilege, sir, of visiting on my birthday of all days in New Zealand, sir, a port in New Zealand, sir, and to watch how they have automated the entire thing. To watch the trammel lifts, sir, that are, you know, in Barbados, in most places when you go, you see a trammel lift, there's a man at the very top of this very tall machine, and that man guides the trammel lift. There, sir, the whole thing is automated. So I'm looking at the top of the trammel lift for a man, but there is no man. This thing is being controlled in a back room. So instead of one man per machine, you had one man controlling about 7. And the efficiency gains were significant. I said when I was there, sir, well, you all need to have a relationship with the port in Barbados, sir, and now we're talking. Because Barbadians have to get to that point. And the thing is, people may be scared for automation that they may lose jobs, sir, but here's the thing. In New Zealand, sir, they ended up needing more people. More people, new skills, but more people. Why, sir? Because they became so efficient that they were getting more and more and more business. We in Barbados have to get to the point where we are so efficient that we are generating more and more and more business, sir. And that is the intention of this government, sir. To put ourselves in a position, sir, to not only be the most efficient and effective in Barbados, in the Caribbean, but to be among the most efficient and effective forward-thinking administrations in the world, sir. That is the thinking of this current administration, sir, and we are working steadfastly toward that. And I feel, sir, that we're going to have conversations around how do we now improve our ship registry? How do we make our ship registry more profitable? How do we make our ship registry more reflective, sir, of the new level of thinking? How do we get new ships on the registry, sir, safe ships? And how do we do that, sir, while maintaining our standards that have been set before us for Barbadians, sir, and by people, sir, who have had the opportunity to lead this country? But training, sir, is going to be important in that regard. And I'm pleased to say, sir, that I've already started conversations with the Honourable Minister of Labour toward developing a training program for young people, sir, in seafaring. We've been working, sir, through the Ministry of Education with the Samuel Jackman Institute of Technology, sir. We've been working with the Vocational Training Board. We've been trying to develop programs, sir, that would allow us to take young men and young women, sir, who may not have formal qualifications, sir, but who have an interest in the sector, and be able to give them the skills, sir, and train them up, sir, to fill the international gap, sir. I was told, sir, by a cruise line that they have thousands and thousands of jobs. Thousands. And that they would like to hire Barbadians. We just have to train them up a little, sir, to get them to the point where they can hire them so that they don't have to train. So, sir, it is incumbent on us now to do that training, sir, and we are committed to doing it, sir, so that we could employ some of our Barbadian young people, sir. And the thing is, sir, in Caribbean societies, we have this thing that unless a man comes for a job with 10,000 CXCs, 5 degrees, and then for those of us who like to dabble, what is the nature of your degree? Did you get a first? Did you get a second? And then if that's not enough, then what, you get a master's now and a PhD, sir, to do what? And I'm not disrespecting those who get qualifications because academia is important. But if all we do is train up people who get PhDs, sir, well, how the society is going to function? How is the society going to There's a joke I heard, it's too crass to be told in here, sir, about body parts and their functioning. And if one body part determined that it ain't functioning, the whole body shut down. What the same is true. Plastic bag once said, the country's sick, the country involved, sir. We have to see it as a person. It is the persons who work on the sanitation trucks are as important as any one of us who sit in this honourable chamber, sir. Any one of us. and that we have created a society where we feel people have to have these 8 million CSCs to get a job. That is why, sir, we have to now train up people in Barbados. We have to train up people in Maritime. In the last 10 years, the number of people who were trained dwindled. I have never seen, sir, such an attack on common people in my life. Average people can't even get into university, and if that were not enough, they cut off all kind of training. People can't get access to training. It has to change, sir. So when the Honourable Prime Minister says Barbados has to be a training campus all over, I support it, sir. We have to offer new training, sir. The Minister responsible for youth in his Youth Advance program, sir, in my mind, one of the most transformative things that we have already done. The Minister of Youth, sir, is working hard to ensure that young people in this country have opportunity, sir. And that, sir, is important. I said before, we don't govern in silos. This, sir, is a tax incentive piece, sir, but it speaks to tourism, it speaks to shipping, it speaks to everything that we're doing, Honourable Member for St. Michael West. It is very important for us, and I have got to the point, sir, now, having been a minister for just over a year, sir, where I have no more patience for fluff. None. And it is done. Thankfully, sir, my team is also at the point, sir, where they don't have any patience for fluff. And that we are now being very clinical, sir, in what it is that we are seeking to bring to the country for conversation, sir, and as policy. But let me move on, because I know there are other people who would like to make a contribution. Sir, we have been having conversations about the maritime single window. The Barbados Port Authority, Inc., sir, is already in a position, sir, to roll that out, pretty much. They're just fine-tuning it. The maritime single window, sir, is going to make business in Barbados so easy. You know what happens now is that you go from one port to another port to another port, and at each port they may ask you for different documents. So it is a frustrating exercise. So you leave here and you go somewhere else and they want different things. When you have this single window, sir, you kind of homogenize what it is that is being asked for. Again, sir, facilitating business, sir. And as part of the facilitation convention, sir, that we are fine-tuning, and I hope to bring it here before the end of the year, sir, to be debated. Because Barbados, the only country in the region, sir, that is working, sir, on the file, sir, at present, sir, that we could say Barbados has now to leapfrog, and we will, is Antigua. But all legislation, sir, has to be brought to this House to make sure that Barbados, sir, is leading the region, sir, in all these things. You know, when you travel and you have a conversation, sir, because now I'm having conversations on shipping, on all that we're doing. When the other ministers are not there, you have conversations, sir. You may have it on youth, you might have it on business and entrepreneurship, you might have it on culture, you might have it, sir, on social policy. Because you represent, when you go overseas, you represent your country. When you are overseas, you don't represent your ministry. When you go overseas, sir, you represent your country. And that is why I feel it is very good and proper for us to come here, sir, and have debates on these things, one with the other. So, sir, when you go now, you have these conversations internationally, especially in the region, but also internationally. People say they are so glad to see Barbados is back in the conversation. In the region, sir, it is almost as if they were waiting for Barbados to come back to the table, to bring opportunity, sir, and to bring that level, sir, of a new approach, a new thinking, sir, and the urgency, recognizing the fierce urgency of this moment, sir, to do things well, but to do them quickly. And it's the conversations that we are having all over the region. I've heard it more than once, people saying that they're glad to see what Barbados is doing. Everybody in the region at all the meetings I've gone to, sir, speaking with pride about our Honourable Prime Minister. All of them. And that the contribution that was recently made, sir, on climate change, sir, second to none. And that they are glad to see that kind of leadership, sir. a St. Lucian told me, sir, that Barbados has a natural position of leadership. I don't believe nobody got any natural nothing. But that we have earned it, sir, and that Barbados must continue to earn its position of leadership, sir, and that is what we are doing. So that when we go overseas, sir, we represent our country, there is now a new sense of dignity and pride, even in the minds of other Caribbean people, because, sir, we are bringing such leadership to a number of these issues, sir. Sir, we have, as I spoke earlier about some of the challenges we were having managing IUU, illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. And one of the things that we have to do, sir, is to reestablish the National Maritime Interagency Committee, which we have done, really, which will be a committee, sir, of all the various agencies, the Marine Police, Coast Guard, Coastal, all the various agencies, sir. And that together we will work to manage that space, sir, in a way that allows us to protect the interests, sir, of our local people. Because that is what you're seeking to do. We have on it telecommunications, foreign affairs, environment, the port, the AG's chamber, so everybody. So that we are treating to this thing in a very serious way, sir, to allow for the effective functioning of our maritime administration. And all of these things, sir, are going to be very important. Barbados has to be a place where people want to come and want to do business, sir. We're making sure that that is the case, sir. You know, the last 2 points that I will raise very quickly, sir. Okay. Sir, in relation to our pleasure crafts, you know, I've been having meetings, sir, with persons who operate some of our pleasure boats, because they fall under shipping too. And in fact, sir, many of them get access to some of these concessions. So it's directly related to what we're discussing. They get access to these concessions. And I've been having meetings with them, sir, and I've been saying to them, well, we have to improve the security on some of these ships. We have to improve, sir, the quality of some of these boats. Sir, would you believe that you could almost captain a ship? Not almost. You could captain a ship. What qualifications you need? What are the formal qualifications you need to go and work on some of these ships? You take young Barbadians, because you know about young Barbadians want to go and party on these pleasure crafts. You and your family, sir, go on these pleasure crafts, sir. We've been talking about it, and that there's a need now to improve the skills of the persons who work on those ships. And thankfully, sir, in our meetings with the persons who run the pleasure crafts, I must say they have been very amicable, sir. The conversations have been very productive, sir, but we all agree that there's a need now for greater training, so that people who come on those ships don't have to worry about their lives, because the people are trained up. But we also have to make sure that those ships are safe. Every time that they leave the harbor, sir, we have to know that they're safe, sir. We have to know that there is security in place to make sure that people are safe, because there's an increasing level of violence in this country. Violent crime, sir. And that it would happen, sir, if it could happen at Sheraton Mall, it could happen anywhere. It happened a day, sir, a Kadooment day, men gone shooting in a crowd. So we won't be able to prevent it, sir, because you can't prevent idiocy. You can't legislate a man until he stop being an idiot, because only a complete idiot can go and shoot in a crowd. So you can't put in legislation and tell a man, my man, from today you have to stop being an idiot. But we are putting in place enough, sir, both in terms of to guarantee the safety on the ship, sir, but to put in place enough overall to make it tough and the penalties harsh and the system quicker to deal with people who do it, though. And that is what we have control over, and that is what the Attorney General is now working on. And that is what we are working on in maritime, to make sure, sir, that when you get on a ship, your life is not at risk, because we've put in place the security, sir, to make sure people are safe. And it has to be done. You hear from time to time, sir, that a party craft has stalled on the sea, or spinning around, or broke down, and the Coast Guard has to go for it. You hear these things, sir. We have to make sure, sir, that these things are safe, subject to regular inspection, subject to consistent and persistent and proper training, sir, to make sure that the maintenance is done and that there's a schedule, and that if you want to continue to have your license, you have to submit your schedule to the ministry, because, sir, the lives of Barbadians matter. And that is what we have to do, sir. So we have to put in place a whole regime of changes. And I said to you, sir, in the beginning that if there's one area where it is clear to me that we have been let down as a country by the former government, sir, it is in shipping. Because there were so many things that could have been done and should have been done that were not done, sir. And we are seeking now to be able to do them. You would also see, sir, thank you, you would also see, sir, that we've already put out for expressions of interest for the building of berths and jetties. Berths and jetties, sir, at various points across Barbados, sir. I'm pleased to tell you, sir, that we got a number of people responding to be able to help us build out these berths and jetties and to do these studies, sir, because nothing that we do will be done without regard for the science. In fact, we've already said, sir, that as a government, as it comes to our marine space, we will be guided by the science. We said so when we were discussing the islands. We say so now as we talk about rebuilding coral reefs, sir, and we're doing a lot to help rebuild the coral reefs, sir. We talk about it, sir, in everything that we do. But we've offered, sir, the expressions of interest on the berths and the jetties. And we've had a number of responses. Why do we need to have berths and jetties, sir? I mean, it's really a rhetorical question, I'm sure you know, but we want to be able, sir, to have movement of cargo and people along our coast, sir. We also want to be in a position, sir, to have a ferry between Barbados and the other islands, sir. It's been bandied about for a long time. The difficulty with a country like Barbados is if you look at the other coastlines of some of these countries, they have natural bays. Natural bays where it's easy for them to go and build marinas and ports and so on. Natural bays, shallow water. Barbados along the coast of it, we don't really have a lot. Actually, if we have any, I'm not sure we have any at all along that coast. The East Coast is almost off limit because the East Coast is very filled with rocks and the reefs and the tides there are rough. Oh yeah, St. Thomas, I remember for St. Thomas, you know, you could go to the sea close there with me and St. James. But the point is, sir, that for berths and jetties, sir, we want to start to have that conversation. And what have we done? We did not say let the government go and build these berths and jetties and tell people and then go and buy a boat and say we can do it. We are doing the studies. And because a mature government knows that its role is not to provide everything, a mature government knows that its role is to facilitate business, we have been seeking to facilitate the business. So what we put out as our expression of interest was, is there anyone who has an interest in berths, in ferries, for example, or in water taxis, who has the wherewithal, the financial capacity, and so on, be able to build out the jetties and the berths with us, and that to have an agreement, sir, whereby both of us profit from it, sir, so that over time the persons who make the investment, sir, will get back their investment. But it has to be a relationship, sir, that is built with the private sector. The growth in Barbados, sir, will come from the private sector, and we know that. So we have to make it easy for people in the private sector, sir, to do business. And so when we build out those berths and jetties, sir, if the science suggests that it is possible, sir, well then we know based on the science it can be done. If the economic feasibility study says, sir, that it could be economically feasible, then we know it is worth pursuing. So on the one hand, can it be done? If the science says yes, sure. On the second hand, would it be economically feasible to do it? And if the numbers say yes, then sure. And we believe, sir, that this is the direction that we have to go. And once we've done that, sir, the people who have the same ships, who might be willing to do the same business, will also be able to apply under these concessions. So that at the end of the day, sir, what do we wish Barbados to look like in 15 years, in 20 years? How do we wish Barbados to function? What will be the legacy, sir, of this government as it relates to what we have done in that space, sir? And that all of these things, sir, are so interrelated, sir, and are so tied together. And that we have to do these things, sir, because that is what a modern, forward-thinking government is going to do. And I've always said, I said it before, sir, you have to look into the future, set your gaze on it, but you have to always keep one foot firmly planted on the past, on the ground. Keep yourself rooted, so that you may be guided by some of your traditions, not all, but you may be guided by some, sir, but that you have to release some, or you can't hold on to new things. And there has to be a new and glorious future waiting for all Barbadians, sir, and we have to lead the way, sir, to make sure that Barbadians begin to see what we see, and that they benefit from what we know they will benefit, sir. That's leadership. And that at the end of the day, sir, if anybody can accuse the Honourable Prime Minister of anything, rightfully, it could only be, sir, that she's leading well, and nothing else. And at the end of the day, sir, that is the conversation that we have to have around shipping, sir. Sir, lastly, let me just speak to the port. Because we have developed, in a sense, a shipping pathway for Barbados. We've said there are things under the IMO that we need to do, that we are doing, sir. You will see by the end of the year that we have brought the file to this Parliament, sir. It has to be brought. The facilitation convention, sir, to make it easier to do business, sir. But that the port has to be a shining example, sir, at the end of the day. So we have this pathway for shipping that we've developed, sir. And in this last phase, sir, we're looking at blue growth activities for the shipping sector. And a lot of that depends on the port. A lot of that depends on making sure we have an efficient port. A lot of that depends on making sure we have a secure port. So when you hear us speaking, and the Attorney General speaks to it all the time, the measures that we have taken in the port, sir, to secure cargo, to test the cargo that passes through. If you're not testing 100%, we have the systems in place to point out the ones that might be troublesome, sir, so that some could automatically get a green card, and those who don't then have to be subject to a full inspection. But that we have a system, sir, that works. And all of that, sir, within the context of renewable energy. Everything that I say to do in the port now, when they tell me they want to do something, I say, but what is going to be the energy source? Because we have aspirations, sir, of being a fossil fuel-free country by 2030. So the port, you can't be telling me you want to do all these things in the port and then telling me that it's going to cost X amount because of your fossil fuel cost. It has to be driven by renewable energy, sir. There are no ships being made, sir. I mean, they're in the early stages of development, sir, that will require a charge up when they get to Barbados. We have to have ports, sir, that have charging ports, driving the charge through renewable energy, sir. So that when they come, so that when we get ahead of the curve, when the new ships come, where do you think they're coming? They're not going to places that don't have it. They have to come here because we have it. Barbados has it, sir. That has to be the new slogan as we go forward, you know. Not that we got it, because we already got it. Barbados has it as we go forward. We have all these new innovative approaches, sir, to technology. We've taken seriously, sir, to the digital revolution. When people get off the ship, sir, in Barbados, because we're talking about what is going to keep people here, when people get off the ship, sir, they have to come face to face with an experience that is mind-blowing. We have a Minister of Culture, sir, who will make sure, sir, that that happens, so that every time that they experience something in Barbados, sir, it is transformative. And that is where we are, sir, as a government, sir, where we are, sir, as a country. That is the thinking, sir, of us as an entire party, sir. So, in a nutshell, sir, and to summarize, when we develop our blue port, when we have a blue cruise port strategic plan, because that's where you have to be thinking, no, you got to be a blue cruise port strategic plan, Honourable Member for St. Michael West, sir, so far ahead of the game. We are thinking so far ahead of the game. Nobody ain't gonna want to come and play against us.
and then to seek to build it out, sir, not through increasing the debt to the government, but through a relationship, sir, with our partners, sir. People cannot even begin to grasp that we can do this, sir, without increasing the debt to GDP ratio. And we are saying that we are doing it, sir, by building out relationships with our partners. There are people who want to do business in Barbados. Let us make it easy for them to do business. That's all we have to do, sir, and watch Barbados continue to transform. So, sir, I wish, sir, as I close, to go right back to the beginning. And to say, sir, that this bill would amend the Shipping Incentives Act, Cap 90A. It would reduce the time from 9 to 7 years to claim losses. It would reduce the deductions from 150% to 100%. But to say, sir, that all that I have just outlined, both in tourism, and I have the opportunity to act for the Honourable Member from St. James Central from time to time, so both in terms of tourism and both in terms of maritime, sir, we are doing enough, above and beyond, sir, to make Barbados continue to be a most attractive destination for persons who have ships and for tourists, sir. And therefore, I have no concern, sir, that these would have any negative implications, but that for those of us who are committed to this cause of moving Barbados forward, sir, in a way that makes sense, sir, this bill makes sense, sir, and that we will do all that we have to do to continue to make Barbados the most attractive place for tourists and for business, sir. And therefore, sir, I wish to close, sir, my remarks on this bill. And, hold on. Sir, and I beg, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Sir, in my short contribution this morning, I rise to support the proposed amendment to the Shipping Incentives Act, Cap 90A. As the Honourable Member for St. Michael South indicated, the amendment bill amends the Shipping Incentives Act in the following two ways. One, it reduces the number of years for carrying forward losses for the purpose of the assessment of income tax from 9 years to 7 years. And it also reduces the rate applicable to the deductions that can be claimed in respect of income tax from 150% to 100%. Now, as the Honourable Member who led this debate indicated, these are small changes. But in my short contribution, sir, I want to take this opportunity to look at the more significant changes. This is a matter that speaks to the issue of incentives. It is one that has been very much in the policy discourse as well as in the public discourse. It has become represented as it is, an issue of transparency, an issue of fairness, an issue of inclusiveness, and participation in growth and well-being for all Barbadians. Now, part of the task that is before us is to respond to the transparency and accountability issue that has attached to investment in this country. And in that regard, we have spent much of the last few months looking at the issue of the fiscal incentives framework for this country and really trying to come up with a system that makes it clear and predictable what are the incentives, the concessions, the waivers, etc., that can be expected by those people who seek to make an investment in this country. But sir, as we do that in a climate that we all have discussed over and over and that every Barbadian has come to understand. It is a climate where we have had to bring into balance what we are spending, what we are making, what we are investing in on behalf of the people of this country, because we have had to stabilize our fiscal or financial or economic position. So this matter, sir, is one of having to bring into balance what we spend on concessions and waivers and the need to continue the stabilization of our fiscal position. And so this work that we are doing, the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment and the Ministry of Finance, this work that we're doing to rationalize the fiscal incentives framework is really looking across a number of existing acts. We have, as we are now discussing, the Shipping Incentives Act. We have the Tourism Development Act. We have the Special Development Areas Act. And Cap 67B, which also allows for certain concessions and waivers and so on. Now, in the last 16 months, we have had to take a hard look at several systems of reform. We are in reform and transformation mode. We have to be, because a lot of what obtained before we came to service as Barbados Labour Party administration, we could not have allowed to carry on. The absence of accountability, the absence of reporting, the fact that you could not find data, you could not reliably quote any particular number coming from any particular source. You just didn't know if what you were being told really reflected what was happening on the ground. We came to service to the people of this country with certain numbers being swirled around with respect to what was our debt to GDP. We heard 127, we heard 100, any number that you could call in here, we were told prior to May 2018. Only to come in that famous meeting, Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central will recall that we moved straight to our swearing in, to an all-night session to really come to terms with what was the economic position in the country. We had to. It was that urgent. It was that critical. And I believe the Honourable Member might still be having a sleep deficit from that night that he has never quite made up for. But we had to. We knew when we came to service that we would have to make sense of a lot of things that could not possibly make sense. And so the final number that we settled on, that we took because we had to take, because we had to account for this expenditure, was about 171% debt to GDP if you include the arrears that we're owing. Now, in the last 16 months, sir, because of tremendous effort on all sides, tremendous sacrifice on all sides, by labor, by capital, by all Barbadians, that number has come down closer to the area of 120% debt to GDP. Because of the discipline, because of the hard work, and because of the sacrifice from all sectors in the social partnership, from all Barbadians. But sir, we realized that the business of transparency, of saying to people, well, this is what it is, and nothing is happening in a back door, behind a back door, behind a backyard. That is the duty and responsibility of this Barbados Labour Party administration, to return Barbados to that sense of honesty and fairness and integrity and accountability. And that, sir, is the context within which we have begun our work to rationalize the fiscal incentives framework that will soon be before all of us, before the country. But at the same time, to make sure that we use the tools that are at our disposal to generate growth in the country. I don't need to say again, but I will, that we were in a zero growth environment for a decade. It seemed to me that those who were at the helm during that time did not think that it was necessary for the country to grow, and for the country to grow in a way that included all Barbadians. I know some people grew. I know a handful of people who certainly grew, whose pockets grew, whose homes grew, whose garages grew. But the work of this new era of politics in Barbados has to be about all Barbadians being part of the growth in this country. So we need to bring into balance, sir, what we spend on concessions and what we earn. Because what we spend on those concessions, and I'll say in a minute what I mean when I talk about expenditure on concessions or tax expenditure. But what we spend has to make sense for what we get. If we are foregoing revenue, it has to be for the benefit of all Barbadians and not just a few. And so we took some time to look at, as we are in a mood of reform, we of course have to look at our tax reform. And we took some time to look at our tax expenditures. And let me say quickly, sir, what tax expenditure is, because the term may sound a bit misleading. Tax expenditures are any provisions that result in a reduction of tax for a specific type of taxpayer or activity. So it is not about amounts that governments actually spend, but it is rather potential money that governments forego in tax revenue. So it is revenue that you could be receiving, but you are not, because you've decided to forego it in concessions or waivers in order for your economy to grow in a way that is inclusive. And I focus on that word inclusive, sir, because that is the focus of the new fiscal incentives regime that we are discussing within the context of the social partners. And I will come to say a bit more about that in a minute. So we started to look at what those expenditures are. We realized that we also have to bring these in line. We have to make sure that they make sense and that the country is getting what it is paying for. I am not sure that over the decade between 2008 and 2018, that it can be said that the country got what it paid for. I am therefore fully in support of the Prime Minister's stance, of my stance, of the stance of the Honourable Member for St. James Central, that having agreed that we cannot, no government can, renege on an agreement with a developer that is already in operation, that was emphasized and re-emphasized and repeated and reassured. The relevant documents, sir, were laid in this chamber for the avoidance of all doubt. And so I am not sure on what basis it is being said that there is any variance in the agreement. The agreement stands. There is no more that any government can or should do to reinforce and to repeat and to promise away all future generations that might ever land in this part of the planet beyond what has already been given. But, sir, we go forward. And I'm sure that whatever those particular actors need to come to terms with, that they will do so, since, as they have expressed, they are only in this for the good and well-being and development of Barbados and the region. So I'm sure it will work itself out in time. We have made our position clear. The terms have not varied, cannot vary. A government can't do that. But there shall be no more effort to try and reinforce and go to the ends of the earth to repeat what has already been agreed. And, sir, against that background, I want to say this. One of the things we know about any tax system or any system of tax incentives is that it should generate greater economic growth. And so, in that context, we've been thinking carefully about what are the things that are important for Barbados as we agree on an incentive system for the country. One of those things is no surprise, should be of no surprise to anyone. We also similarly came to service, sir, with a foreign reserves position of about 4.5 to 5 weeks. We all know that what is agreed internationally as the guidance for where you should be is around 12 weeks. And there's a reason for that. That helps you, a strong reserves position helps you to secure your dollar. And when we spoke to the social partnership and to the people of Barbados, overwhelmingly we were told in May 2018 and before that holding on to the value of the dollar was of utmost importance to Barbados and to the people. When you're a country the size of Barbados, sir, as small, as open, there are certain things that we need to establish stability. And the dollar is one of those things. People need to understand what environment, what climate they are coming into when they come to Barbados. And so having that economic stability and reassurance is important. There were many who talked about Barbados perhaps having to forego that peg, and we said no. We understand Barbados, we understand Barbadians, we understand the environment that we're in. We know what is needed to secure the economic well-being of the country and of all Barbadians. It was reinforced by the social partnership. And that is why we needed a strong reserves position. So we came in and found 4.5, 5 weeks. And one of the number one priorities for us was to make sure that we increased that. And so gross international reserves today are over 1.2 billion. That was the urgent work of this administration. And these numbers are not just for numbers, but these are the things that help stabilize and make predictable the investment climate to make sure that we get growth that is inclusive in this country. And so one of the things that the new regime has to ensure is that we get investment that is foreign exchange attracting and generating. Foreign exchange attracting, meaning that the investment that's coming in, whether it be in tourism, whether it be in renewable energy, whatever sector, that there's a certain amount of foreign exchange that we can expect to come here, to stay here during the development of the project. But similarly, that there's also a certain level of foreign exchange that we expect the operation, whether it is a hotel or something else, to continue to generate. And I emphasize that because we were not sure whether some of these agreements made prior managed to get us the level of foreign exchange staying here on the island that would be a benefit to the economic well-being of the country and of Barbadians. That information is important. We need to know that. Because I repeat, what you spend, what you forego in revenue, you have to make sure that the country and the people are benefiting. And so that is arguably one of the important parts of an incentives regime. Is it attracting foreign exchange? Is the foreign exchange during the operation and during the development staying here? But sir, there's a second part of this equation that is extremely important. And it gets around to what I am talking about when I talk about inclusive growth. I certainly did not come to service to watch a handful of people continue to benefit. That is not why I am here. I am here so that the young people in Halls Road, in Clapham, in Flagstaff, in Carrington Village, in Britton's Hill, some of whom are going to go and do the seafarers training, some of whom have skills that we need to find space for. I am here so that they can be a part of the growth. I am discussing incentives and doing this work in the ministry, not because I like to read books, like a former prime minister only ever did, but because this is the work that if we do it correctly, if we do it honestly, is going to mean opportunities for young people in St. Michael's South Central, in St. Michael's South, in Christchurch West, and all over Barbados. And so a part of that consideration of your incentives and how they are granted has to do with employment generation. How many jobs are going to be created? How many long-term jobs? How much decent work is going to be created for Barbadians? The Honourable Member for St. Peter, the Minister of Labour and Social Partnership Relations, has the tremendous task of ensuring that we, as a country, help create the environment for decent work in this country. And we, I think, have strong partnership in the social partnership, in the labor movement, and in the private sector. But when I talk about the generation of jobs, I'm not just talking about people who come and spend 4 weeks on a job site and then disappear forever again until there may be another development happening somewhere else. If you look at the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan, and whenever I rise to speak about that plan, sir, I have to emphasize the transformation, because I feel as if some of us only see the R in BERT. We have to recover. Got to stabilize the patient. It doesn't make sense a man is bleeding out on the side of the road and you come in trying to give him a nose job. Can't perform cosmetic surgery on a patient that you don't know if they're going to make it. But the real work here is about transformation. And so the number or the extent of long-term employment, getting people in decent work, has to be a part of our discussion as we advance this new tax incentive system for Barbados. There's something else that I want to mention, and I put these things before this House, I admit, slightly prematurely, but I'm not a woman of many or any secrets. I am an open book, as my colleagues in this honourable place will attest. But I think one of the things that we have to focus on as well, as we look at this new framework, has to do with a commitment to your project start, a commitment to saying, this is when and how and under what conditions we as developers, we as investors intend to go forward. It can't be up in the air. A country, as we saw over the last 10 years, cannot plan its business in the absence of information and without being able to predict when investment is happening. And so certainly we want to encourage investors in this country to commit to being able to start within a reasonable time. Investment has to be planned. I will speak briefly in a minute on the tourism investment climate, but investment has to be planned. Now, I can't say that I would be too upset if the economy of Barbados started to overheat a little bit. Overheating is supposed to be a bad thing. We need to make sure that we can manage the investment and manage economic activity. But I can't say that after the last 10 years that I saw, with zero or negative growth, that I would mind a little bit of overheating. But we need to be able to time these things. We need to be able to understand what is happening in the country when. And we do it similarly with respect to town planning. There was a time when people would get planning approval for a particular property and would wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. When you provide planning approval, you have a certain expectation as a government that needs to help manage investment and use of your land and other resources. You have a reasonable expectation that this thing is going to go forward. And we know that there are sometimes other factors that intervene. We are reasonable people. But we want to encourage people to have a sense of commitment to the investment that is under discussion and the investment that is proposing. And so we think that these are some of the things that need to be a part of such a framework. But I have to emphasize, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the truth is, what we have learned is that there's really more value to an investor in a predictable business climate than in a certain dollar value of concessions. It's what we've been hearing over and over. It is that people will often say, you know, I just want to know that when I submit a planning application, that I'm going to get it in a reasonable time, because I also have to plan my business. I want to know that whatever I am getting in concessions and waivers to help facilitate my project is reasonably in line with what the other fellow is getting. Yep. Predictability is the currency of investment, sir. And so, having brought the legislation in January to reform planning and development, having converged our tax rates, sir, so that many investors end up paying effectively no more than 2% in corporation tax. Having done all of that and doing more, we have established the Doing Business Subcommittee of Cabinet, where every single cabinet minister and team with responsibility for each of those indicators in the Doing Business survey report to the Prime Minister on what are the measures and how soon and what resources are required in order to shift the position that they're currently in. We are certainly doing it with respect to planning and development. I know the other colleagues are doing it across each of the ministries with respect to the port and customs, with respect to bankruptcy and other issues that affect commerce. The work is being done. And happily, we are establishing a complementary committee of the private sector and the third sector to be able to help us troubleshoot and to be able to help us find those nuisances that only those who access the system understand. And I understand that there's a lot of misery, a degree of misery, I should say, in the public about some of these things that really, rightfully, should be fixable or easily fixable. And those are the nuisances that affect people in their everyday lives, not just about large investment, but also about small business, also about a one-woman or a one-man operation. And that one-woman or one-man operation looks different from large business. Why? Because they may be operating out of their house, have to stop at 3 o'clock and go and get the children from school, need other support that a large business might not need. And so these things, when they occur, when you find that going about your business, doing things that should not take as long, when they do take long, understandably people are upset. And so this work that we're doing is not just about facilitating the investment climate for foreign direct investment, but for all people who have to live and work and play and function and prosper in this country. So part of what we are doing with respect to planning and development also sees the use of planning gains as another part of the equation. So it's not just about your incentives framework. It is also about what is the partnership in which investors are going to enter with the government and people of Barbados to invest in the country beyond the confines of the particular footprint. And I'll say again what I mean. So that if you are benefiting from the patrimony of this country, if you're benefiting from the sea and the sand, and from what we have termed in our tourism investment prospectus as the unique Crescent Bay in front of a historic city, that's Carlisle Bay, if you're benefiting from that, you can't find that anywhere else in the world, then you need to understand that you need to bring Barbadians along. And so those planning gains, as I've said in this honourable chamber before, may cover anything from training of staff towards more long-term employment, or it may help us, sir, ease what we have come to realize is really some of the untenable and unsustainable overcrowding in some of our urban spaces. We know what happens when people feel miserable, they can't stretch out your elbows. You turn around somebody there, you turn around somebody there. You start to feel a little bit of pressure. And we want people to be able to live comfortably and easily, to be able to relax and to have peace of mind in their surroundings. It is part of the reason, is one of the reasons that we are looking in the Roofs to Reefs program at a series of interventions that are going to improve the urban corridor, that are going to improve infrastructure for urban Barbados in the context of having to be climate resilient and having to make sure
The honourable member
that
has
we
2
can
more minutes.
recover from a disaster. So, sir, these are the kinds of parts of the investment climate that we are realizing that we have to bring to bear. This government is not a one-trick pony, sir. We, together with some of the thinkers, the young people, the social partnership, all ideas contending, have realized that there are things at our disposal that we can use for the benefit of Barbadians. Sir, the Grantley Adams Airport Pavement Rehabilitation and Expansion Project is one of those parts of the equation. And that project, sir, sees around $47 million in investment to address what was a lagging and critical gap in not only the tourism, but the security infrastructure in this country. You have an airport that a little more airlines will stop coming here, and then what will happen? The National Tourism Program, sir, is another investment that is looking at tourism product and making sure that, with respect to tourism investment in particular, that we create the climate that will make sure that the industry continues to grow. So what are we talking about here? $500 million in new investment by the end of 2020. That is certainly what, in the context of the tourism investment conversations that we've been having, we are hoping to see develop in this country. That is why we have been working on the ground. And we want to make sure that Barbadians are not just working in these sectors, but are investing in these operations, and to make sure that we create the tools that will allow them to do that. So, sir, as I close, I want to say that these are small changes to the Shipping Incentives Act, but in the context of large transformation to how we do business in this country, that makes it transparent, that makes us all accountable, that makes us fair. You know, we have always said that while we may have called out some developers for the kind of behavior that we saw taking place in the last administration, we are calling out behavior. We are not condemning individuals. All you have to do is come fair and come right, and this government will work with you. And so, sir, I support, in closing, these amendments, and I want to say that this discussion is really one that is long overdue, and that I am happy to be able to contribute to for the good of Barbados and all Barbadians. I thank you.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of this sitting until 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman will be suspended until 1:30 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This Honourable Chairman stands suspended until 1:30 p.m.